and the rest of the SM Tax team for working with us on this initiative. So again, I want to now hand over to the man from SM Tax, Bukhule, hopefully your mic is on, to share some general insights in terms of the experience that SM Tax has to date had, especially during this period of COVID. Again, any other insights that perhaps they have. I know that July is a big month for tax, and again, they might have some tips for you there. But if you want to continue kind of engaging in these conversations, you're more than welcome to go over to smtax/COVID-19 for more of Buthule's insights. But without further ado, I want to hand over to Buthule. Over to you, Bui.
Hi, Vu. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the series. I'm currently actually having some technical difficulties here, Vu.
Okay.
I'm sorry to do this to you, but can I go towards the end? I'm happy to share the insights, maybe in the last remaining 10 minutes of the call after Christoff has gone. If I'm not putting the whole, I know the slides have already been prepared. I'm just having a bit of a mini crisis here that I'm handling.
Okay, cool. So Buthule is working from home, I must mention, and he's got a young family, so maybe there's something going on at the moment at home. Like all of us, by the way, unless of course people have gone back to the office. So let's see how much time we have at the end, Buthule, but I think it does save us some time. Christoff, you might have to prepare yourself a little sooner to be ready to take over the screen and to continue sharing on your side. But again, it's okay. We'll revisit your section at the end and come back to you as well. So no problem for them. So again, over to the man of the moment. I think we're very grateful to have Christoff here. And really, it was not 2 weeks ago that we were on an advisory call or roundtable discussion around the SME impact of COVID-19. That the idea for hosting Christoff today came through. I've personally known Christoff for a number of years. Has always been a straight talker and is a very active ecosystem builder in South Africa. And again, he's been involved in initiatives that many people might not be aware of, but have been certainly very instrumental in advancing the small business sector in South Africa. He's a massive champion for organized business development practitioners. Again, a big catalyst and a big enabler for people who've been practitioners in this space for a number of years. To date, he's now currently the CEO of the Entrepreneur Planning Institute, and I'm sure he's going to share a lot of details around some of the work that they're doing. They've also, I'm aware, I have a wonderful survey series that they want to share with everybody going forward. So I'm looking forward to the conversation with Christoff. In his past life, he's done some pretty cool things. He's fashioned his career on the back of being a storyteller and entrepreneurship support industry publisher. If you've been around the space for as long as I have, you'll know Big News, which was a big news kind of storyteller way back in the days of Red Door. I mean, I don't know how many of you on the call have been around the space for that long, but he was the publisher there. He's also done the Small Business Connect, which has done extensive work with the Department of Small Business over the years. And he continues to be a strong, reliable partner to the CEDA network across the country. I think the last time we chatted, he mentioned that he's doing a lot of work with people in Mpumalanga. So if you are from Mpumalanga, you might have hopefully either come across Christoff or been a beneficiary of his programs that he's run in partnership with CEDA in Mpumalanga. Christoff, welcome. I wanna really get into this because I know, people didn't come to hear me speak or to hear us talk about. They've responded to you and the curiosity to learn from you. And as you open up your mic and get ready to share your screen and talk, please remember that you can leave your questions in the chat box. The session, I'm not sure if Bukhule came right, is being streamed both here on Zoom, and on Facebook, and will be made available for everybody to download on YouTube as well. So there's plenty of ways that we can get a hold of this. So Christoff, welcome, my brother.
Yeah, I'm here.
Are you there?
I'm here.
You and I had a quick chat and in preparation for this call, and again, like I said, I wanted us to touch on three kind of key main talking points, and I want to start off with the first one, which is a subject matter for today's call: proficiency, passion, and profit. Tell us.
Yeah, so
Unpack it for us.
I'll start here. I've got my camera on, so I'll start here
Go
with a
for
book. I'll start here with a book. So if any of you are good readers of books, sometimes it's worth taking a book off the shelf that's already 20 years old, and this is one of them. A book is called Good to Great, and I'm going to talk a bit about what's in this book. One idea that's in this book. Now, what makes this book different from other books that are written by these many gurus that claim there's a formula for entrepreneurial success? I'm not sure. Any of you know some of those books? Let's see if you can. I know if you're on your phone, it's a bit difficult to type, but you can by swiping to the text chat screen on your phone. Otherwise, you're on your computer. What books do you know about that are about entrepreneurial success, where someone tells their story about what they've done? Anyone that wants to share with someone that they've met, some guru, some entrepreneurial success story where they say the 7 tips or the truth to entrepreneurial success or something like that, maybe the title of a book like that. Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Another Vuiswa. What is Vuiswa? Okay, there's Sarah is asking a question there, which we can come back to later. Anyone else that knows a book that's about entrepreneurial success, specifically those that tells you these are the 7 points or the rules that you need to follow, or the Virgin Branson's story? In fact, his is a bit different from many of the others. Most of these books would start off by saying this is the truth, and if you follow this truth, you are going to succeed. It's kind of a promise embedded in that. And I've long had a discomfort in that. So I've been working, as we just explained, for it's a while with entrepreneurs, and I found that many arrive with the idea that if you follow some rules that are set for you by someone else's success story, that you're going to be successful too. So Terry, can we switch Terry's mic on? Terry, can you unmute yourself?
Yes, sir. I've done it.
What is the secret about?
The secret is believing in yourself when you know when it's impossible. Just sorry, hold on a second.
No problem. We're all working from home nowadays, so.
Yeah, apologies. So my son is going. No,
so what is the secret?
The secret is you need to start believing in yourself. I mean, business. Everyone is human. As you go along, you meet and you greet. As you know, to build a company is to find the right people with the right attitude to grow your business.
Yeah. So I was introduced today by Vuiswa saying, Christoff is a straight talker, if you remember right. So I don't buy that story, that you can just believe in yourself and you'll be successful. I don't buy that story. Do you buy it, Terry?
I would, because if I believe in myself, I can go further.
Okay, perhaps that's a starting point, is to believe in yourself.
Sure, but that's
but there's much more involved, eh?
A lot more. Well, look, that's like the basics. When I read The Secret of the book, you know, you believe it's a challenge. It's a challenging of who you meet during your course of your journey. There's always the ups, and definitely you always have the downs.
Yeah. Great. So we can take something from those books. We can definitely take. So thanks, Terry, Maybe you can mute yourself, then we keep the quality of the sound good for everyone. We can take something from those books, but they're limited. In fact, the secret to success I found, and this is sort of more than two decades of working with entrepreneurs, is that each formula is different. Each person has his or her own formula, and that is the challenge that we are faced with as entrepreneurs. I'm sure most of us in the room are entrepreneurs, because this is kind of an entrepreneurial network. There's no one else's formula that we can follow. We can just learn from others. And in finding that formula, it can be quite daunting and difficult, even more so when we come to a situation like we are facing now. And this is what I want to introduce to you quite quickly, and then we can maybe, we say you'll direct us in terms of our time and so on. But I'll introduce you to an idea here, which actually now I can't screen share for some reason. You must first stop yours, or I can do it for you, looks like.
All right. You should be able to on your side.
Yeah, it's going now. Yeah. So you should be seeing my screen now.
Yes, we're seeing your screen, Christoff.
Cool. So thanks, Tony, by the way, for sharing there with us. So how do we find our own formula is a difficult enough question to answer, even under normal circumstances. Much less so in normal circumstances than what we are facing now. And I have some clients myself. I work with entrepreneurs, some of them who have very difficult times ahead of themselves because of the impact of the pandemic. But we can respond. All of us have a choice in terms of responding. And if we can respond in a way that helps us towards understanding better what that unique formula is that applies to ourselves, the better our chance of actually turning tables, making a success, maybe not in the same way as we anticipated before, but definitely creating something that is special. And this is kind of how I kind of typify it here tonight, is how to respond to business distress. Let's think about it. Something like the COVID-19 pandemic kind of coming across our way, and how do we respond to it? And this is the hedgehog concept that I want to introduce to you. It's a very simple idea, but it's really powerful. And I'm not going to spend much more time introducing lots of stuff apart from this concept to you. And then we can talk about applying it yourself. And maybe if we say you can kind of come into the discussion there, and we can have a chat, maybe bring some other people into the discussion too around how we apply this idea, in businesses. So we make it practical. We're not going to have a long kind of presentation. It's going to be fairly quick. So this is the situation that we're under, is that it's time of extreme business uncertainty, and things are changing. We actually don't know what next week is going to hold. For many businesses, I read about hairdressers this morning, sort of 70% of survey shows of hairdressers are closed and will not open again. So these are businesses that people built up over years, and they're gone, and this is the rapid change that is happening in these uncertain times that we're living in. For each of us, it's different. The business that we're in is affected differently. Some businesses are actually doing great. For some, it's a great opportunity and they're doing well. If you bought Zoom shares, you're now kind of smiling in a way, But if you're in any service industry or tourism, I've got a client whose next batch of clients are going to arrive in 18 months. They were going to arrive now, and now it's kind of more than a year later that they're going to be able to get any cash flow from those clients. So for each of us, it's different, but we're all affected. And the problem is that if we try to think in the same way as we did before, we're probably not going to come to answers that will be helpful to us. So I'm not sure about you, but we saw quite quickly after lockdown and so on, there was kind of lots of kind of advice flowing around, and kind of lots of webinars launched and so on around how to respond. And perhaps some of them were just adjusting the ways of thinking in the past that they tried to resurrect into some kind of grasping at grass, what can we do in those situations is kind of a question. And here's a kind of a concept that I use often in different situations. I've used it in the past, and I think it applies here too. And there's a big reason why it applies in times of uncertainty. As I said earlier, it's from the book Good to Great by Jim Collins. It talks about a simple model, which they call the hedgehog concept. Now, just the background to Good to Great, the book was written about 19 years ago now already, and it was based on a study of American companies that did exceptionally well, and they compared it in key statistics to other companies that are in the same industries. So basically what they did is they went to the stock market and they look at profitability and key measures in terms of growth, and they compared those companies that stood out, that were doing much better than the others, and were trying to find reasons in the data. So it was a big research project, and eventually wrote, Jim Collins then was the lead in that. He wrote the book From Good to Great, and identified things that these companies are doing different from others. And the one is this, what they then termed the hedgehog concept. So they were sitting looking at the data and found that all these companies, whether they were of the cohort of those that were doing great, and whether they were of the cohort of those that were just doing good, they all had strategy. So clearly the distinction was not, do they have strategy or not strategy? You know, you can't say the companies that have a strategy are doing better than those that don't have a strategy, because they all have strategies. And they went a bit further and they said, okay, but is it just that they have a good strategy or a bad strategy, and that determines it? And then they found, but that's not really the distinction. The distinction is that those that are doing great are the ones that have the most simplest strategies. Think about that for a moment, you know, sort of those with complicated ways of seeing things and explaining things and rolling out what it was that they were busy with, were struggling more than those that had a real simple model and had simplified the way that they run their businesses. And when they actually explored further, they found this, that there were three elements in their thinking. We can call it 3 Ps if we want to: proficiency, passion, and profit. And that was the title that we then decided to build this at, that we're talking about here. Proficiency, of course, let's talk about, which one shall we talk about first? Proficiency. Proficiency is what we're good at. So companies are typically good at some things and not so good at other things. Individuals too, by the way, you know, sort of. So for us as individuals, it's our skills, and in a lot of instances, our entrepreneurial businesses are very much dependent on the leaders, on our own skills, our own knowledge, and our own experience. But you can also say that of the business. So proficiency is not something that we want to be good at, and that's a big distinction that they make. Proficiency is actually something that we are already good at. Something that we are better at than other people. So if you compare yourself to others, what is it that you are better at doing than what others are doing? So you could ask yourself, what am I really good at? Sorry, there's a typo there on the slide. What I'm really good at, and what comes easy to me to achieve? You know, sort of, if I use this in the coaching environment with a client, we may sit and actually explore through a process of questions and, you know, discussion, what the actual sweet spot is for this business or for this person in understanding the skills and the knowledge and the experience that combines into what this company is really great at. So I'm wondering if this makes sense to you. Maybe I can ask if you want to type in the text chat, you know, sort of, if you can easily identify what it is that you are great at in a sentence. So I see MD, I'm not sure who MD is asking if the study was based on fair-sized businesses running for several years in America. It's a bit old, it's kind of nearly 20 years old now. So it's all established businesses, not new businesses. But what happened when these businesses went into strain is that they responded by actually shrinking like the hedgehog. That's where the hedgehog comes from, you know, sort of to shrink like a hedgehog into what they are really good at, and combine it with some other things which we'll come to just now. So when we go in a stage like we are now, where there's a pandemic, uncertainty, where we don't know what the lockdown is going to do, we don't know how full the hospitals are going to get, etc. To ask yourself really, what are the things that we are great at, not just average at or good at, but great at and better than others. And can we in our business concentrate more on that? So it may be that we need to stretch ourselves slightly, but what are the things that we are really great at is the first question. Okay. Good. So we start also asking there. So if you think about that question for yourself, if there is someone that want to share, sort of there's opportunity for us maybe to kind of have a discussion at the end too. So Terry said attention to detail. Kunrad is saying, no, he's referring to Sarel's comment. Okay, so attention to detail for some with commitment. So if we can also ask ourselves as a business, what is it that we're great at? What do we excel at? And what do we do better than others? Wendy is good at helping others find their passion, So those are kind of cues for us in terms of what it is that we should be focusing on in our business. For each of us, of course, this answer will be different. Bruce says, I'm very good at strategic tax thinking and planning, so in the detail of things. So if your service or product is one that requires that detail that other people may not be able to see, and you kind of great at covering the detail, compared to Terry saying staff motivation, which is connecting with people. And so finding something that you are really good at is the first part of the hedgehog. By the way, there are 3 parts, remember. You'll recall we said proficiency, passion, and profit. Okay, so we've done proficiency. So let's move on to, except if there's someone that's got a question, or you can also raise your hand if you've got a question. Okay, no one raising hands at the moment. I assume we all know Zoom by now very well. Or if not, you can, at the bottom of your screen, there should be a button to raise hands, or you can open the participants window, and at the bottom there, you'll be able to raise your hand. But let's keep going. So the next one is, of course, passion. So passion is not just something that's burning in you. It's kind of quite fundamental. In fact, it describes a belief set or something that kind of drives people, also towards making change and achieving outcomes outside of yourself, So what are the things that we feel really strong about, and that we kind of see as things that are important to improve in the world? So if you can describe that, if you can define what you are really passionate about and what drives you in life, it helps you when you combine that with your proficiency to start see that there's overlap between the two, and that is where you can maybe focus your attention. And then the third element is, of course, profit, so it doesn't help that you are passionate about things and you can do them well if there's no money to be made, if there's no money flowing, there's nothing to sell. And they're the needs in the marketplace that you can connect to. So it's also not necessarily the needs that are just out there, but the needs that you can connect to. So these are customers that you can reach, or their wants, not necessarily their needs, or the ideas around innovation and new things, and creating the demand for new things is also sometimes where money can flow. So which are those opportunities that are within your reach? And if we take those 3 together, proficiency, passion, and profit, we can draw them in overlapping circles, and that where the 3 interlace, where the overlap is between all 3 of them, is how you can define your purpose. So your reason to exist, the reason why you are in the world is to live your purpose, and that is kind of the driver or the thing that gives you direction in what you do. So I wanted to share this with you, that in uncertain times, to actually step back and ask yourself these questions around what are you good at? What are the things that really drive you, that you're passionate about? Where's the money flowing? How can you tap your proficiency and your passion, the overlap of proficiency and passion into the marketplace, so that you can run a successful business. And in that way, you can define a purpose for yourself as an entrepreneur. And by stepping back and going through the process, so you can do this on your own time. You can draw your 3 circles and see where the overlap is and put things in there. And that can give you some kind of indication of where you want to go. I see Terry is raising his hand. So maybe we can cater for some discussion. Vu, help me here. How would you like to do this?
All right, I'm gonna switch on Terry's mic. Go ahead, Terry. Just unmute yourself. I'm trying, but it's not working on my side. So Terry, just try and unmute yourself. There you go.
I pushed it there. It's just that sorry, I just wanted to comment is that as well, I know we need proficiency, profit we need, but in a lot of businesses that I've seen and into the I've been 15 years in transport, I've seen a lot of wastage of money on material things that we don't need. That is where the business does also lose out on a shortfall. So yeah, just a bit of understanding on that too. I'm pretty new at this. Excuse me, I sound a little bit unprofessional, but to grow my business, I like to just hear some comments on people and how can I better my business? How can I better my styles? So yeah, excuse me, yeah.
Yeah, so you are right. There's of course a lot in the detail of each business that's different, and the refinement of a business to be less wasteful and kind of be more efficient in what it does. So I mean those are kind of really important issues to concern. Especially if your business is going and you find that there's kind of stress on the profit line or the bottom line, or there's something a new competitor in the market that kind of changes things a bit, or there's a new technology that's overtaking you, sort of to look at those kind of things. So what I'm offering here this evening is a bit more of a fundamental look at where we are at in the world, as opposed to the detail of creating efficiencies in business. Sort of. So if you find that that the fundamentals of your business is questioned based on the uncertainty, how do we respond? Sort of. So we could either say, okay, no, we're going to just get better at what we do. We're going to concentrate on getting more efficient and more effective. But in fact, you can't. If you run a restaurant today, you can get more. You can use this time to redesign your workflow in your kitchen. But if in 2 months' time, after lockdown is over, your customers are still kind of like reeling in a pandemic and they are too afraid to get out of their houses to come to your restaurant, you're not going to get any results from that, sort of. So the question here is a bit more fundamental than how do we make our businesses more effective and efficient. It's a bit more orientated towards how do we position ourselves in the world when there are these big uncertainties and our real existence is kind of like questioned, sort of. And it's just a tool, I must say that too, sort of. It's just a kind of, for some it may work and for others not. And so Terry gives us a thumbs up.
Christoff, I wanna also just for practicality purposes tell and reassure Terry that a session on some of this type of context around staff and people will be happening. It's already planned for future sessions as well. So just keep coming to the sessions, and some of those answers will also be provided around HR, people development, as well as systems efficiencies. So that's also part of our plan as well.
Yeah, indeed. To build successful businesses is maybe one of the most difficult things one can set out to do. So if you are an entrepreneur or owner of your own business, well done. It's not an easy job to take on in the world. Okay, so are there any other kind of questions or comments? We can, if there's someone, I'm not sure how we're doing for time too.
No, we're doing well. So I mean, look, if you want to kind of think about some of the things, right? I mean, I know sometimes the stuff can sometimes come across relatively highfalutin, but and again, for me, I always cluster it in a sense that every business owner has critically 9 key levers that they're touching every day, and they're trying to make adjustments to make a functional business. Okay. And what sometimes a lot of entrepreneurs do is that they overlook the importance of how those 9 operational levers are anchored in your belief system and your framework for thought. So what I want to do, Christoff, as well, is just kind of challenge you, because again, as I've said to you previously, one of the things that really resonated superbly well for me was almost kind of a quantum physics-esque in thought. It's something that you said around the ability and opportunity for entrepreneurs to rethink their business and in almost in a new way start a new business, even if they're operating the same brand, the same function, is learning how to transition. What did you mean by that? And just give us context around that.
Yeah, I can't remember the exact context in which I said that, but I think when we come to uncertain times like we are at now. So by the way, so my kind of process of responding to the pandemic was quite a slow one. Sort of I really found it difficult as a advisor of entrepreneurs and businesses, and as a coach. As a coach, it's a bit easier because as a coach, you explore, you walk alongside your customer, your client, your coaching client, and there's a discussion evolving. But I sometimes serve as advisor too, and that I found very difficult because I was not so certain myself. And that kind of caused me to actually ask myself, what are the more fundamental questions to answer? So if we can start off by asking the more fundamental questions, is how is our business actually aligned to the things that are important for ourselves? And that creates the ability for us to be successful. So to look at our passions and, so sometimes we become slaves of our own businesses, in fact, I've been there, I've run my own businesses too. I came to, at certain points, you come to the point where you're the worst paid person in the business and you're working the hardest, because the business isn't kind of flowing in the way that it should. So, what are the more fundamental questions to ask when you come to a situation like that, when you start feel that? And in the situation that we are now is when the environment is shifting so quickly that we actually don't know. It's so unpredictable that you can't say, this is an opportunity that I can pursue and create, except if you're into distributing hand wash soap, perhaps, but if that's not resonating with you, there are so many other things that are so difficult. And then to say, okay, let's take something that's a bit more fundamental and explore that, and how does that then give us direction? I'm not saying that this will be an answer for everyone. By the way, Eric, I see that your hand is up, so we can come to you just now. This may not resonate with someone, and that's fine too, but can we ask a bit more fundamental questions about what we do so that it gives us direction into how we can go into the future? And so I'm not sure if that's kind of answering your question.
That's aligned to it. Yeah. And again, as you've kind of gone through that process, what has kind of come through? I mean, I through you, I think also kind of leaning on some of these principles, but also saying practically how you then adopted to it. Because again, I know a lot of people are either back at work or back reopening their businesses, but they haven't really dealt with those fundamentals. How can they, what is the hanger that they need to ultimately hang their hopes on that ultimately is going to push them through? There still remains uncertainty. We're in level 3 right now. We're not quite at a level 0 level. What should people kind of be looking into in reinventing themselves in their business? Is it about, for example, practically initiating a new brand, or is it about readjusting their values? Should some people even be thinking about their product and their services they offer?
Yeah, so as I said earlier, each person's answer will be different in that context. And I think that made me a bit slow in kind of trying to offer people some solution. But let me share this quickly with you while we're not talking about it. So I then eventually, it took a while, linked up with a few other like-minded practitioners in business support, and we came up with something that I think can be useful. And we call it Stay in Business. It's run by the Entrepreneurial Planning Institute, which I'm involved with. By the way, the EPI is an NGO that is a collection of different practitioners that have been around the block a while and that are contributing something back. And we came up with something that we think can work, and that is to first engage with people. Now, these will mainly be businesses that are really straining, sort of. So if your business is kind of cruising a bit and so on, maybe you don't need this. But if you're under strain, sort of, your main question is, should I reinvent my business, or should I close my business to start something new and manage that closure so that it's least damaging for myself? And that we came up after we saw that there were so many solutions coming out. It's kind of save your business, save your business, save your business. And in some instances, I've had a business close myself, sort of. It's not an easy job, and it can be very damaging, sort of. You can come out at the end of it unable to start a new business. So if you can identify early on that this is not going to work, the market is shifting so much, the concept that I had is really not going to fly, or it's going to be 18 months to 24 months before anything proper is going to happen in this industry again, I can look at the option of, and a 3-hour workshop gives you some tools to help you in that decision making. So it's either reinvent my business or stop so I can start something new. And then we've got short courses delivered online, 3-hour sessions in the afternoon, 4 times over a month, with some assignments in between. That's 2 different courses. The one is on reinventing, and the other one is stop now to start again. And that will offer. You can go to, there's a few questions there. It's kind of like 12 questions or so, or I can't remember exactly how many. Also relating to your business. So stayinbusiness.the-epr.org if you go to that address. In fact, let me type it here, or I can just copy it over, I think.
I've put up the survey as well, Christoff.
Oh, yeah.
It's in the chat box already.
Okay, well, there it's again. As a way of offering some guidance to and some solutions that are not just kind of like, okay, rebrand yourself, find another market segment. Maybe that's a part of the solution. But the solutions for closing shop to start something new is totally different from reinventing a business. I see people starting to talk about pivot, but okay, pivot in the startup sense is very specific things. But basically, what is it that you need to adjust quite radically in your business so that you do something different? Sort of. I see Eric's hand is still up, Vusa. Maybe we should come to him quickly. But I can ask the question. There's some big companies, sort of. If you think of Nokia, sort of. So for us in South Africa, it was very interesting for me to see the other day that Nokia was installing cables for fiber cables for internet connections. And I got to know Nokia as a cell phone company. And then when I looked into the history of Nokia, I actually saw that they were started off as a cabling company. And they reinvented them. They adjusted to certain things over time, sort of. And now, who buys a Nokia? No one, sort of. So they're back to their core business of cabling. But in any case, that's just a side note. And I see that there were one or two private messages of people connecting with me. There's my email. So those of you that have asked, you can gladly contact me, and sort of we can take a discussion offline too. But shall we go to Eric?
Yeah. So Eric, are you there? Are you still there? Let me just open up the chat. Eric, are you ready?
Yes, I am.
There we go. Go ahead.
All right. Thanks. Anyway, what I actually wanted to do was to basically paraphrase what I'm understanding from what Chris is sharing, which I feel is actually very powerful. To say, I've been in a Zoom session like this where information on what entrepreneurs could possibly do with regards to COVID-19 in order to in terms of like how to get their business to survive or maybe thrive in the changing environment that we're in. And the sort of angle that I see Chris bringing to play is, instead of reacting to COVID-19 only, which is actually essential because business needs to survive, business needs to go on. I guess what I'm getting is it's also a point where one needs to sit down and really reflect rather than react to the current environment, to say, how far have I gone from what I initially wanted to do with my business? Is this still consistent with what I call my passion? And then obviously looking at proficiency, looking at profit and passion, and trying to align that with purpose. I see that as something that is key, and also maybe very important for a lot of entrepreneurs, despite the fact that we have to survive in our businesses and try to navigate the kind of economy that we're getting into. So in essence, an analogy came into my head, which is a situation where, let's say you were racing for many years, okay? And the engine that you had on your car had a certain capacity and you could not go beyond that. So while racing, you find out that, you're no longer the fastest on the track. And instead of trying to, go full accelerator ahead and thinking that's going to work, it's just a situation where now you're rethinking and saying, actually, maybe the engine that I have doesn't have the capacity to take me where I want to go, or where I want to get to, or the kind of speed that I'm expecting of myself. And then it's literally like going back now and looking at the engine and saying, maybe I need to actually rethink the entire business, rethink perhaps not only looking at the purpose of the business, but also looking at individual purposes and aligning that with business, and then going ahead with looking at also other issues pertaining to how to have the business survive and perhaps thrive after what the world is going through right now as far as COVID-19.
Or you may find that because of the shifts happening in the community and the marketplace, people are less interested now to go on drives with you anymore. They'd rather come on a walk with you. So you actually don't need that engine, you need something else, which is proper shoes and fitness, And if you, by the way, you are a great walker, that loves taking people for walks, then that kind of aligns much better with what you want to do in any case, So there's a bit of that, yeah. But thanks, Eric, for that. I think it helps a lot. I also saw someone else said they feel at home, so that's great to hear too. Is if we can apply a bit more fundamental thinking, I think that's it. Who's it? Kahneman that said, the Nobel Prize winner, Thinking Fast and Slow. I'm not sure if that's a book that you've read, but sometimes it's important to be responsive quickly and to if you're in a situation as a leader, to get things sorted out quickly and respond and get new direction quickly. And some other times it's important to think slower and more considerate and more grounded. I think this is a time where we really have to, as individuals, each of us, it's a time for us to ask ourselves is, what am I busy with my life? Am I creating the life I want? Am I creating a life where I can be working with other people and creating value for other people in the way that's congruent to what I believe is important, and it is enforced on us, but it's maybe important for us to understand that this is an opportunity for us to do that, so yeah, I'm sitting at home, I go shopping every now and then and so on, but for the rest, I don't move much. So my 17-year-old daughter is really frustrated. I mean, for her, life is outside the house. Mine is mainly inside the house. So, but it's in a way, the way that we respond to that constriction of not being able to move is something that we can't control over, so this is kind of the discussion that I've been having with her, how do we respond to this reality that's enforced on us? That's something we have control over. There's another really good book that if you haven't read it, you should read it, called The Meaning of Life, by a gentleman called Frankl. And, he was sitting in concentration camps, and he said he survived the concentration camps because he realized, he's also a psychologist, but he realized that the one thing that he does have control over is his thinking. And no one can take that away from him, even under those horror situations. So the horror situations that we're facing now kind of creates that space for us to say, but listen, let's control our thinking a bit. Let's step back and have a bit more fundamental thoughts about what we do. Let's use tools like the Hedgehog, maybe other tools, to think through what we are about and how we position our business to not only help us to live our passion and our purpose eventually, but also to make money from and create the wealth that we want, Yes.
So I want to jump in there a little bit, and again, take the conversation a very interesting direction. We are in June. It is Youth Month, and we know that from looking and reviewing the data on SN Tax, that 60% of typically the people that are coming onto these, looking to come onto these sessions, could be classified as youth or young people. Not saying anything to anybody who's older than 35 on the call.
I'll switch my camera off.
Kind of. So jumping into that kind of context around this is, as they shape, what can we do that's different? I mean, South Africa is about to be hit by a tsunami of business closures, liquidations, and increasing the unemployment kind of rate. How do we improve the environment? How do we, does it start with the mindset and thinking? Does it, where would you put your finger? If we made you Minister of Small Business for one day, what are the key fundamental things that you would insist that young people, youth-owned businesses really need to focus on to build up business success?
I'll nationalize the distribution network of data and make it free to everyone.
I think we might be fast heading there, but I think it's still going to also require people to participate and require, some kind of level of focus from. I mean, we've got a bunch of young entrepreneurs on the call. I mean, I see Eric has come on, and Eric is actually one of my new mentees through our labs that I'm also here to kind of do an onboarding call with. How do we get that emphasis on these young guys to say, look, you can create that pathway, the destiny is yours, just grab it, own it, the opportunity is there. I mean, in a very open, frank way of speaking, stop making excuses and kind of get onto it. But what other things ultimately do we need to do to allow them to build up those tools?
So, I mean, you're asking a multi-level question, which is kind of really difficult to give a concise answer on.
You've got 5 minutes.
I want to speak to Cyril too, by the way. He's put up his hand. I enjoy speaking to people, by the way. So, I mean, there are people that are saying this is kind of like capitalism in crisis that needs reinventing, and, kind of like we need to be a bit more soulful in what we do and so on. But I think let's reduce the question to ourselves, because that's easier for us to deal with, So by the way, if I was the Minister of Small Business Development, I would definitely not force every business to register and add more red tape just to get access to some help, I think they're making a big mistake there in terms of our less formal side of the economy, in fact, I think people will just resist that, and it's not going to bring us anywhere. But that's another topic for discussion on another day. No, I would tackle the question from the point of ourselves, So here we are now, 30. Well, we were 30 people in the room now. So someone left. We're 29 now. So each of us has got a name and a surname. Each of us has got these competencies, the proficiencies that we have. Each of us has got something that drives us in life. Each of us can see there's something happening where I can make money, So ask that question for yourself and say, what is it that I can do? What is it that I can deliver? Because otherwise it's a political debate, and, we can sit around and talk lots. Some of the webinars that we attend, a lot of talk, but we really ask the question to ourselves. So this is perhaps the challenge that I'll put to everyone here, to the 30 people here today is, and I put it to myself too, is, if we think of these, the hedgehog and these three elements in what we do, how congruent are we to what's important to us? We don't have to get it right the first time, but let's keep working on it and improve what we do. So it's enforced on us now, but we've got control over our thinking. So let's think about what it is that's taking us into the future. And if it means that we have to reinvent our business, that let it be. If it means that the business is going to be so badly affected that the debt is just going to increase, and the expectations that I still have from people that I employ are just going to get worse, and it may be time to say, okay, it's time to step back and look at what are the steps to minimize the pain here, and so that in 6 months' time I'm ready to start something new. And I think that's where my mind is at the moment. Is if we ask these questions for ourselves. Where can we go for help? How can we support each other? By the way, so great stuff, Vu and Khula, you guys are right on the button here. This is the way. It's we have to have networks of people working and supporting each other. And so, sort of whether your name is Lerato or Helen or Geraldine or Eric, doesn't matter. You know, sort of we're all in this game, and we can support each other too.
I think there were 2 hands up. Let's allow them, guys. There will also be an opportunity for you to ask questions at 10 past, so in the next 4 minutes, openly. So again, if obviously it's related to the presentation that Christoff has provided, absolutely go for it. But we'll also open up for engagement around what. And again, we'll also remember I still have Bukule's little insights also to kind of throw in as we move forward. So there were 2 other questions that I noted on the chats. I think it was did I lose it now? Terry, I think you had your hand up again. Just unmute yourself. Remember to
Maybe they
unmute
lowered.
yourself.
Maybe I intimidated them when I said it's time for us to think.
So in the last 2 minutes, while we figure, we're gonna allow questions. Don't worry, guys. We will allow questions, but also encourage you to write your questions in the.
So let's do this. Here's something. So let's see how attentive people are. If you think of yourself now and the feeling that you're sitting with now, you know, and you can put that into one word. Let's do this. Let's create some activity here too. So we don't have to only think. We can also, if you go to the participants list, if you click on the participants button, I'm just going to. Sorry, it looks a bit funny now. Let me move this. You don't have to see all of that. If you go to the participants list, doesn't matter what your name is, and you find your own name. If your name is Helen, and you click on, you hover over your name, and you click on more. Now that kind of jumps off the. If you click on more, you can go to rename. Open the participants window. Click on your name. Click on more. Click on rename, and then you put what you're feeling right now as in front of your name as a descriptor. That's another way of checking whether everyone's awake. So click on participants at the bottom of your Zoom screen. Find your name, hover over your name, click on more, and rename yourself. So Eric is excited. It rhymes too. We don't know who's encouraged, but there's someone that's encouraged. There's a blank slate too. You can keep your first name there, by the way, so that we know who you are. Anticipation, courageous, encouraged, that's great to hear. Hopeful. We got 2 hopefuls. Great. So, I mean, what encourages me, well, those some haven't changed their name, so maybe but I don't find the button. But what encourages me is that there's quite a lot of positive, hopeful feelings coming out here. So I'm wondering, you know, is the world not as scary as we think it is? Or am I on my own visa thinking it's a scary world?
I think you're right on the money. I think, I mean, I remember, you know, myself and my family have been quarantined since the 20th of March, immediately after I traveled. But I've kind of been dealing with the reality of the virus. I traveled a lot before the lockdowns. So I'd been on the road for quite some time, since mid-February. And, you know, I think it dawned on me 3 weeks ago in terms of, you know, just settling in. I mean, I did the whole overconsumption of information, you know, that anxiety around the business, around stuff. And then somehow my system just really readjusted. And I know that in conversations, even with Bukule, you know, 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, those conversations have adjusted and are now kind of looking very much to the next phase of the growth. Yeah. Someone's speaking? Sean, go ahead.
No, sorry.
Oh.
But I do see,
Sorry.
I see
There's a hand up as well.
courageous Atabile.
Atabile. Go ahead, Tabile.
Yes. Hi, evening, everyone. So, for me, what I found about this current situation is that, regardless of what has happened right now, but let's just face the truth. 2019 was also a bit of a disaster. The economy wasn't really doing so great worldwide. I mean, a lot of businesses, just like now, but 2019 as well, was exactly the same, where you had a lot of businesses that were not doing well. Just like any other situations, some were doing well, some were not doing well. So this opportunity for me was a really good opportunity to really fine tune my business and obviously pushed me, because as an entrepreneur, the mere fact that you're an entrepreneur, you have a lot of hope and you always doing calculated risks and you're always pushing yourself. But this situation kind of forced one to put a stop street and say, you know what, now I need to really look at what is really working, what is not working. And the positive thing that I've found during this situation is that all of a sudden, everyone kind of understands. Whereas before this situation, as an entrepreneur, if you knock anywhere or you're dealing with a supplier or you're dealing with whoever, it's just like, no, it's your own problem. But all of a sudden, everybody now listens to you when you say, listen, can I make a different payment plan? Or whatever negotiation that you're doing, you all of a sudden, people are listening to you. And I encourage everybody that is obviously in this platform to find ways. I mean, one of the hardest things is, or the most negative thing is not communicating and not talking and not negotiating. As an entrepreneur, you continuously need to speak to people, communicate, negotiate, no matter how badly you think the situation is. But up until you've actually communicated and actually extended yourself to say, listen, I'm struggling, I can't make this payment, can I pay it at this time? You will never really know. And I found that this situation, a lot of people all of a sudden, because everybody's in the same place and is feeling the pain, they're a little bit more understanding. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much on the money. And I mean, I think even the next, literally, I mean, what we forecasted on our side at Hyber is that the really difficult time is literally going to be coming around September, because the challenge that, again, we're all faced with, and this was sometimes with the government, we've got a bit of an issue, is that I think the government has kind of been premature in the construct of its offerings. And again, when we looked at the numbers with Khula as well, we figured that some of the relief funds are really starting to be depleted. And as a result, it's become increasingly difficult for SMEs to access capital. And even as late as today, we're discussing how we can leverage this platform to help you guys better prepare for really the reality of what's going to be coming in terms of the tough environment. And again, leveraging the fact that we can convene at the level at which we convene to bring the right conversations, so that you prepare yourself more than be a victim of things happening to you. So victims of happenstance. So I think these are the questions that we constantly are grappling around to provide better assistance, better support. And this is a reason why this platform exists. So I want to kind of allow Christoff 2 minutes just as a closing kind of context of remarks. I'm going to make additional comments to everybody who's asked about courses and post-program. So, and I'll make a comment once I've allowed Christoff just 2 minutes just as a closing remark. Go ahead, Christoff.
Yeah, no, so thank you very much for allowing me the opportunity to connect here with 3 dozen of
we had 50 RSVPs, which we'll get the video as well. So
yeah, okay,
it's not really over. And there'll be 18,000 more on the back of that as well. So it's, we're recording and archiving a lot of this. So yeah, it will go further.
No, so I just wanted to express a wish to everyone in the room that each of us going through different stuff now, some not so bad, some really kind of stressing. Some of us have bigger numbers of employees who are looking up at us. to give guidance, and they're dependent on us figuring out how we're going to keep businesses going. Some of us may be fortunate that, in fact, it's not so bad in terms of business, and that we can shift slightly just to readjust. But it doesn't matter really in what way we're affected or not. What matters in our lives as purposeful people is that we do stuff that's meaningful for ourselves and for others, and that we can create the wealth that we deserve in doing so. And if we apply models like this, the EDGEOC, sort of looking at proficiency, what we are really great at, looking at passion, what are driving us in life, and looking at profit, what are the things that we can actually make money from, and where those three then overlap, defining a purpose for us. And in fact, you can go through an exercise and define a phrase or a sentence or a paragraph that describes your purpose. Something that you can put on the mirror to look at in the morning and say, am I congruent to this? So I, in fact, went through a similar, I didn't follow this tool, but I went through a similar exercise a few years back when I was, I knew I needed a coach, and I spent kind of a good year working with a coach in helping me to get good direction in my life, sort of with what I want to do. And at the end of somewhere in that process, I got to the point where I could define my purpose in a really short phrase, which reads like this: I help entrepreneurs to I help entrepreneurs to get and give more. So if I've been able to give something to you guys today, so that you can go out and give more to others and get more too, then I've been congruent to my purpose. And it's kind of like, it's in that vein that we can use these tools to keep asking ourselves the questions around what we do, and is it congruent to what's really important for us.
Thank you so much, Christoff, and thanks again for just bringing the inspiration. And again, for everybody who's wondering where to next with Christoff, obviously, we encourage you to reach out to him personally yourself. He's shared his details. But on our side is that we're planning a few things with Christoff. He and I have had some long, lengthy discussions about some of the impact that we believe we can have in the country coming out of this post-COVID period. But over and above that, we also have plans to have paid sessions. So this is probably the last free thing that Christoff, at least through us, is offering. So there will be an opportunity in which to send that and connect the dots with something a little bit more detailed. You have ways to continue the conversation directly with him. He works across the country. He works with the CETAs. He's very strong with working with CEDA. He's been a long time collaborator with CEDA. So again, if you are kind of operating in those spaces that require that level of intervention, is also a very good contact to have on your Rolodex. So look out for announcements as we'll make. So that I can explain everybody the formatting for Khula Growth is that every month we're going to do 2 complimentary free webinars to drive kind of community engagement and dialogue. And then, in between that, we'll do other things, which again will require kind of a paid kind of context. And again, as I said, we want to create value. There's one way of creating value. These sessions will be incredibly valuable, but also, like we've also speak to the guests when we invite them, we want to do more than just a complimentary or pro bono session. We want to unlock opportunities to kind of do facilitated workshops and direct engagement with them. So thanks, Christoff, again. Always so good hearing from you, my brother. So appreciate the time here. Khula, are you ready for your talk? Where's Khula? It's right away.
Yeah, I'm
Are you there?
I'm ready.
All right. So hopefully you've sorted out things on your end, and are now ready for your 10 minutes. Go ahead.
No, thanks. I think I'll keep it very brief on my side, so I can let people go and enjoy the rest of the evening. But I think from I think one of the biggest things that we're sort of realizing right now, I think with the benefit of hindsight, is how limited the funding was, for all the government support funding was. I mean, it was, I think, a little over 2 2 or 3 billion rand that was earmarked for SMEs, and that's really, if you really look at it and really honest with yourself, that's really, earmarked for about 5,000 to 6,000 SMEs across the country. So I think from a what we really saw perspective is that we all rushed towards creating financial models for cash flow forecast, finalizing financials in order to meet the criteria to get funded, and I think we wasted a lot of time trying to get ready for funding, and really that time could have maybe been spent on better strategic things. But I think that's obviously the benefit of hindsight, having looked at what was available and how many people were able to actually qualify for some of the funds. I mean, right now, I think the only realistic fund and the more reliable fund that's been available has been the UIF TERS. But all the other ones, I think, in my view, I mean, the Department of Small Business, the CIFA one, I think funded about 2,000 SMEs at max. So it wasn't anything really, good to write home about. But I think from our view, as SM Tax, was that it also, I think, highlighted the importance of compliance. And I know a lot of people say that maybe we should be living in a world where compliance isn't an issue for small businesses, especially businesses that are making below R1 million in turnover, because arguably most of the time they're below the tax threshold in any case, so they don't really contribute much to the tax base, and that you should be looking really at more businesses that are above that R1 million threshold from a compliance perspective. But I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. And I know it was a wish of Christoff to remove some of the compliance leg. But I think what we really saw, and it was clear as day, was that the majority of small businesses, or over 70% of them that came to us, and we did about 1,000 of them, that came to us for assistance to help them get funded, were not compliant. And it wasn't non-compliance of small things that can be fixed in a day. It was major non-compliance, and in some cases, 2 or 3 years worth of non-compliance. And I guess some of them will always look at this period and say, did I miss opportunities because of the non-compliance? So that was a big, I think, for us as a company. We knew that small businesses were not compliant, but we didn't know about in that sort of breadth, and also we didn't think it was that bad. That was one of the things. And I guess one of the reasons for that, because one of the questions we asked was when they did the form was, are you tax compliant, right? So we asked this question even though we had the ability to check on our side. So we found that the majority of people that actually said they were tax compliant were actually not. So it then suggested to us there was a big disconnect between what people thought and the actual reality was. And really that was caused, and when we interrogated it further, we found that the reason for this is that people just don't know what they need to do in order to be compliant, right? And I think it goes back to the old, tax clearance system methodology, where back in the day you needed to do tax clearances once, and you needed to file your tax returns, once a year, and you did all of that stuff at the same time. And there was a gradual move to this continuous compliance methodology where it says file your tax returns when they are due. And there are about 4 or 5 tax returns that you need to file, or returns in general that you need to file throughout the year at a minimum as a small business or as a registered small businesses. And people simply didn't know or weren't consciously thinking about compliance in that light. So I think definitely something that we want to now start improving on as SM Tax around, the customer education around what it is that you really need to do to remain compliant, and when are those dates, that you need to be thinking about to make sure that you don't miss the deadlines around that. So I think definitely for us that was a big eye opener, and a big eye opener for our clients and the larger SM Tax community around the importance of compliance. And I think secondly, what really is compliance. And I think what I'll do is, I know we have a session in July where we'll be doing a much bigger deep dive around what happens next. because ultimately I think the only two funds that are going to be around by then will probably still be UIF TERS, maybe, and you'll have the 200 billion from the bank. So I think we'll be more unpacking how do you make sure it's easier for you to get those funds, and what are the small things that you need to do right now, or then to make that process a little bit easier for you. But from our side, there's a lot of learnings from this, both as a firm, but I think as well definitely a lot of learnings for our clients as well, in terms of what came out of this, and things that they would, when they look back at it, think probably should have done this a little bit differently. And like Christoff says, for our part, we were largely the advisors. So a lot of people came to us for financial advice. My business is tanking. What should I do? Should I get the funding? But the funding is not coming. It's delayed. But the expenses are not delayed, and those kind of stuff. So I think definitely, key learnings that can really be applied, and I'll be really unpacking them. I think at the next, I think in the July session. I'm not sure the date yet, but I think obviously if you are informed, then please start following these webinars. They'll be happening. There'll be 2 webinars a month. I think the next one is for this month is on the 24th, which focuses on more 25th, which focuses more on the legal side and the legal aspects of what one is to consider, and then we'll release the new dates for July shortly thereafter that. But yeah, so again, thanks.
Pleasure. Thanks, Khula. Again, if you want to learn more about the offering to support SMEs at SM Tax, the URL is there for you. So if you haven't connected with SM Tax, that particular portal is free to join, and you'll see that Haiba is also working with SM Tax specifically on this. I know that we got a confirmation for TERS. We haven't received the money yet, but again, what's helped is that we have the relationship with SM Tax, and they did this processes on our behalf because they have access to all our information. But the portal is there not only for SM Tax clients, but for anybody who hasn't connected with SM Tax. It's free for you. You can make a quick submission. It's free. I see a question about UIF there. Again, they can assist you with all of that. They've got a cloud-based team that again can assist you with completing your UIF and your compliance, and again to work you through with the financing. I'm very cognizant of time, and I want to finish on time. We're not going to have enough time for questions today, but please feel free to send your questions to webinars at smtax.co.za. Continue to add your comments. Bukula, hopefully you're watching. Everybody's very grateful for today's session. So hopefully those who are already not SM Tax clients will soon become SM Tax clients. Our next session is on the 25th of June, Thursday the 25th, same time on the 5th at 5 p.m. And this time we'll be hosting Yolelwa Sikunyana from Sikunyana Inc., who's an entrepreneur and practicing attorney with over 15 years of legal experience. She's also written a book on small business legal matters. And she'll be talking about the power of contracts. So again, people do business with people with contracts as a theme of the talk, but it'll probably touch on various things. And again, you'll have the opportunity in which to ask your questions around legal matters that are particularly concerning you. So do prepare for that. As well, in terms of what comes next, we have a survey. It will take no longer than 3 minutes. That again, part of it is really to kind of design this offering and the value along with the community based on your needs. So please do take your time next week to fill out a quick 3-minute survey. We'll also be sending you the link to the video for this session, and then obviously the RSVP details for next week. But it's pretty much the same. So you can either go to the SM Tax COVID-19 portal, or just mail us if you're already been on the call or you're watching this on YouTube. So I want to thank everybody for your time this evening. It's been an awesome session. Thank you to Christoff. Certainly, we'll announce more collaborations that we do with Christoff. Thanks for everybody for being so participatory and so engaged. And we look forward to hosting you again on the 25th of June. Thank you very much and good night.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Cheers, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.
I'll be closing the meeting soon. And I'm just allowing you to say your byes.
You're not allowed to leave the meeting, but we can stop recording.
Thanks, Abulela, guys. Thank you.
Sharp. Your turn will come, brother. Don't worry. Maybe in a couple of months' time, when the time is right, when we can talk BEE. All right. Is that everybody gone? Who's left? Who are those struggling here?
Everyone always thinks there's some little nuggets that have been discussed at the end. So
there's no sweets left behind. Let me see who's
Cheers,
left
everyone.
here. Or maybe they fell asleep.
Oh, it could be. It could be.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Well, thank you very
close
much.
this.
Let's
Cool,
close this.
brother.
Sharp.
Yeah, let's close it. Let me just log off for everybody. Leave.